Time to finish this. It's time to do the last 2 chapters that'll take 74 hours to finish. Debating again whether to do the Assassin's Creed series. They're going to be one of those really long ones, so I may do it when I've got other things to backlog to finish. Right then. Jorvik. Conquest to boom. After the Scandinavians seized and settled in Jorvik, now called York, in 866 CE, archaeological evidence suggests that the town saw a period of great change and growth. A boom! A big explosion. Before its conquest, Jorvik, as the Anglo-Saxons called it, was made up of distant, scattered buildings. After it was taken by the Vikings, archaeological evidence suggests that new houses were erected and grouped together in an organised way. Further research suggests that around the same time that the Vikings settled on both sides of the river Ouse, there was a giant leap in population in the area. These finds reflect Jorvik's development as an urban centre during this period. This helmet is among the things left behind by Jorvik's inhabitants, a reminder that even in times of growth and prosperity, war was still a part of daily life. Well, yeah, you got to defend yourself from raiding Saxons. They'll shed blood of Saxon men. Right, I'm going to start from up there and work my way down. Seems sensible. So we'll discover some. Actually, no, if they're in the path, we might as well get them. Ah, Coppergate. The town of Jorvik was a major commercial and international centre. It owed part of its success to its thriving craft markets. The neighbourhood of Coppergate was a vibrant hub of culture, craftsmanship and trade. A visitor to Coppergate's market would discover goods and treasures from every corner of the known world. They would also find craftsmen and craftswomen of every kind: potters, weavers, silversmiths, blacksmiths, leathersmiths, bead makers, glass makers, comb makers, sculptures of wood, horn, antler, stone, bone, and more. I mean, the list is pretty exhaustive. You could go on if you want. This iron lock and these other shoes are just a few of the crafts that they could encounter. They also might find slaves at the market, for slavery played a large a large role in the social and economic structure of the medieval Scandinavians and Anglo-Saxons. Yes, would it? Look at the shoes. Look at the tiny shoe. And look at the probe that goes into the lock and makes the lock clock. The town of Jorvik was a centre of Nordic trade. There, Anglo-Saxons and Scandinavians exchanged not only merchandise, but also culture, style and fashion. Wool was the most used material by both peoples, followed by linen. Silk could be found in clothing. It had been brought to... I got something in my teeth. I have to deal with it. It was brought to Anglo-Saxon Britain all the way from the Middle and Far East. Anglo-Saxons and Scandinavians had different fashion styles. The Scandinavians liked dyes more than the Anglo-Saxons, so their clothing was brighter and more colourful. Hooray! The coming together of the Anglo-Saxon and Scandinavian fashion styles can be traced by looking at brooches, decorative pins worn by women. When the Scandinavians first began to settle in Anglo-Saxon Britain, it was easy to tell these brooches were whose. The Scandinavian and Anglo-Saxon models were different in size, shape, decoration and attachment. As the two cultures grew closer over time, their fashion styles and brooches became less distinct and harder to tell apart. The intricate brooch of Pitney, seen here, is an excellent example of Anglo-Scandinavian craftsmanship. And don't it look nice? What did you call me? You just called me a bastard, didn't you?
Jorvik, now called York, is a great example of how Anglo-Saxon and Norse civilizations merged over time. Its multiple docks and narrow streets filled with exotic supplies welcomed international traders year-round. To represent this thriving hub, level artists and level designers used Coppergate, one of the city's most notorious landmarks. Known at the time as the Cup Street, where merchants sold handmade cups and pots, it was taken as a reference and extended to the rest of the town. With its small wooden houses and stalls tightly built together, Jorvik clashes with stone-built Anglo-Saxon towns.
They found the Anglo-Saxon towns, made them out of trees. Do you speak Viking? I know. The Scandinavians left a deep mark on the Anglo-Saxon world. Their influence can still be felt today in the English language itself. Qu'est-ce que c'est? Old Norse vocabulary is deeply woven into the English spoken today. For example, the Old Norse word for village, by, still ends the names of many towns like Derby. No others? Okay then. Derby. Ugh. The word plough, used in farming, comes from the Norse word plögir. The word kid seen here meant young goat in Old Norse. Today it refers to both young goats and young humans. These are a very few examples of the many Viking words still in use today. I think gate was one as well. It's how you could tell it was a Viking town because a lot of the streets had gate at the end of it. Such as York. Coppergate, Bargate, Micklegate. Copperplate, tiny head shirt. The Minster. Not as big as the Minster is today, of course. Jorvik had the first and only mint, or place where coins are made, north of the Humber River. Jorvik's mint was a sign of its booming economy. It also gave the town a lot of social and political power. Money, money, money. A few decades after Jorvik was conquered by the Vikings, kings and archbishops started to mint coins there. Coins were stamped with coin dies, like these. Some of them marked with both Christian and pagan symbols. This suggests that the two religions were beginning to mix and merge more and more with one another. Because it's literally that's what minting coins was. It was basically just stamping two sides of a piece of metal and that was it. All very complicated. Although of course forgery was still a punishable offence. I think by death as well, I think. Oh, is it down there? Down I go. Over time, pagan Scandinavian settlers began to convert to Christianity. There were many reasons for the shift. Wulfhere, Archbishop of York, and the person who issued the Steiker coins, seen here, I'm going to go with that, was eager to welcome new members to his church. Through his efforts and those of his clergy, many pagan settlers became Christian. Members of the religious and secular elite also helped convert the settlers. Powerful Anglo-Saxons rubbed shoulders with powerful Scandinavians, literally. This gave them the chance to introduce Christian ideas to the pagan chieftains. The settlers had come from many different places, and it is possible that some of them had encountered Christians before. Yeah, no doubt some of them rode to Norway and was like, "Hello, we're here to spread Christianity," and they're like, "No," bang, shoot them in the face. With a crossbow, of course, or a bow, in which case. Their possible familiarity with Christianity might have made them more willing to convert. Yeah, that, and I think that some of them. Well, it's like what we heard from Guthrum in the chapter before the last one, where it was like, "Oh, it keeps him in power." Oh, that sounds like a good idea. Your people daren't overthrow you because God put you there. Because that was a thing in the Viking times, that they would overthrow each other. Whee! Good job the snow was there to break my shins. A heathen army? Anglo-Saxon church officials considered the Scandinavians to be pagans through and through. They even called them the Great Heathen Army. However, this army of heathens might have included Christians. What? In order to trade good with Christians or to climb ladders of political and social power, many heathen settlers had to become Christian themselves. Conversion to Christianity was believed to shape both one's life and afterlife. As a person lay on their deathbed, they sometimes would turn to the Christian faith to secure their soul against eternal damnation. This was the choice made by this man, whose final resting place, marked by a hogback gravestone, and a sculpted handheld cross. Ah, that's at Winchester. Really need to go back and make sure I've been. I'm pretty sure I've been inside the castle and see. Is Winchester where the so-called round table is? If so, then I've been there. In fact, I'll look it up actually. Pretty sure I've been there. Yep, been there. Because I've seen the mock-up of a round table made by decorated by Henry VIII. But I thought it was made by someone else. Ah, the building it's housed in was made by Henry III. I thought the table was as well. Oh, it was made, yeah. The table itself is from the 1290s, but the decoration on it is by Henry the fucking VIII. Makes sense why there's a Tudor rose on it. So I wondered that. I thought, well, Henry III, why is there a Tudor rose on it? Hark! The bells! Because that always confused me. I was like, why would a non-Tudor, when Tudors were a thing, have a... And now I know why. Because Henry VIII was like, yes, look at me, I'm a great king, got the round table, it's mine, yes. I'm a great king, yes, 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 yes. The Romans built the fortress of Iberacum in 71 CE to house their troops and secure their colony in Britannia. 8 centuries later, the fort was crumbling. This made it easier for the Vikings to seize the town. After the Vikings conquered the town and renamed it Jorvik, they built new fortifications around the ancient Roman fortress, whose multi-angular tower is pictured here. I think that's in the... I think I've been at that one. There's quite a few around, but I'm not sure if this is where precisely this is in York. I haven't been to York in ages either. While its lower parts are Roman, the upper parts are late medieval. Stone design, maybe? Because it kind of does look like it's medieval. I mean, that's obvious for a start off, the arrow slits. Eventually the eastern and southern walls of the fortress were torn down so that the new settlements outside could join the rest of the town. Jorvik would continue to expand, eventually becoming larger than Hedeby, Denmark, and Birka, Sweden. 2 famous Scandinavian commercial centres. Oh! I thought Denmark and Sweden were countries, but okay. Maybe they weren't at the time. I don't know. I don't know anything about that. I'm just an ignorant British lad. I don't want to jump into the water. Put me out. Ooh. Hello. Don't mind me, just climbing around. You know, as Vikings like to keep healthy. Yeah, what he said. Slavery played a large role in the social and economic structure of both the medieval Scandinavians and the Anglo-Saxons. Collars, chains and iron shackles like these found in Ireland would have been worn by slaves in the Viking era. Scandinavian settlers may have brought slaves with them to the Anglo-Saxon kingdoms. As they conquered more territory, they likely enslaved more people. However, slavery was not new to the Anglo-Saxon territories. Even though Christianity opposed slavery, in theory, big quotation marks, there were many slaves in Anglo-Saxon society. Scandinavian settlers may have brought slaves from the local Anglo-Saxons. Slaves were used by Anglo-Saxons and Scandinavians for work in farming, construction and more. While slaves had no rights, after a time some might be able to save enough money to buy their freedom, so not much different from the Romans then. Although obviously their view of slavery is again vastly different to our view of slavery. The town of Jorvik. The city of Jorvik has known many names throughout history. The Romans called it Iberacum, the Anglo-Saxons knew it as Eophoric. Euphoric? Euphoric. I believe I've heard it pronounced that one. After the Great Heathen army conquered the town in 866 CE, the Vikings gave it a new name, Jorvik, and that's what it should have stayed. Oh no, I quite like Jorvik as well. After its capture by the Vikings, Jorvik, pictured in the screenshot from Assassin's Creed Valhalla, ooh, a game you're currently playing, grew quickly in land, wealth and people. It became a centre of commercial and political social power. Even though it had been wrenched from Christian hands by a so-called heathen army, Jorvik was still an important place for Anglo-Saxon Christians. They were very hangry. As a centre of trade and cultural exchange, Jorvik was one of only 2 towns in the Anglo-Saxon territories where an archbishop had a see, a seat of Christian religious authority. Oh, not a literal see. Though I suppose it would be seen as a literal see of faith, I don't know. The Archbishop of Jorvik oversaw all the Christian faithful in the north from his seat in a heathen town. The irony! Well, I suppose he was probably well aware that they could easily kill him and throw him out. What? Do you need the shitter and someone's having a shit? Naming the land. Bernard! When the Nordic people settled throughout the territory, they would become known as the Danelaw. They would name the place they seized or built. To name a place was a way for the Scandinavian settlers to claim it as their own land. Why not? Northumbria. Harrogate. Skipsea. Selby. Grimsby. Jorvik. North Umbria. This map shows a selection of locations in Anglo-Saxon Britain whose names have their origins in Old Norse. Yes. The Scandinavians were not the only people to name their surroundings. The Anglo-Saxons had names for their cities and towns before the Vikings arrived, and they continued to rename them long after the Vikings settled. For example, the Roman town Iberacum was called Jorvik by the Anglo-Saxons, renamed Jorvik by the Vikings, and today is known as York. I mean, we still name our towns today. Yeah, we look at a town and go, shithole. Well, that's not a naming convention. Oh, I could have sworn it was. Yeah. Still not left the shitter, has he? Oh, well. Might as well just do it on the ground. I mean, it technically does the same thing. It's just everyone to watch. Though there's no one around there, so you should be lucky. Anyway, I'm going to run away. What's a wick? What's that thing in a candle? Oh, the modern city of York has known many... God, they love bashing this point home, don't they? It's because I don't think they know what they're talking about. I don't know. I know a lot. I've visited the Jorvik Viking Centre. There's plenty they could talk about, yet they seem to be bashing on about how it used to be called Jorvik, and it was Jorvik, and this. And it's like... I mean, this is definitely the point where I think this Discovery Tour gets very lazy. I mean, you heard my opinions in part 1 about this. I do not like this Discovery Tour at all, personally. It does what it can, but it's just not... no time was put into it at all, I don't think. It felt like the developers had a deadline and the executives didn't give a shit if it was too tight or not. Anyway, enough ranting. Anglo-Saxons called it Jorvik, the Scandinavians who seized it then called it Jorvik. Both names offer a clue to the history of the city. Does it? You could have mentioned this in one thing. The words Vik and Vik referred to an emporium, a place of exchange or trade where scales like these might have been used to weigh silver. When looking at the historical map of northern and western Europe, one can see many towns whose names end this way, suggesting that they were once trading centres like Jorvik. There is a theory that the word Vik combined with Inga is the root of the word Viking itself. Inga means those who belong to. Together with Vik, it creates those who belong to the place of trade or exchange. Okay. The Vikings may have been called Vikings because they were travelling from trade centres to trade centres, from Vik to Vik. The word Vik also means bay or inlet in Old Norse, which could also be the root of the word Viking. Yeah, there's quite a few. I think some say that Viking is a job description, not a people. Again, that's kind of rooted in some stereotypes, which is what I currently need to dig up upon, apart from the obvious horned helmets, bloodthirsty rapists. Because that's the thing. When people... if you ask the common person, what's the first thing they think of when they think Viking? They'll think the longships, they'll think raiders, they'll think murder, they'll think, Lindisfarne, monasteries, pillaging, murder, beards. Maybe think of Ragnar Lothbrok if they've watched the TV series. Ooh, bioarchaeology. Bioarchaeology is the study of the past through human remains. Ah yes, my job. By examining remains like bones and skeletons, bioarchaeologists can gain insight into past societies. One way that bioarchaeologists study the past is through stable isotope analysis. Stable isotopes are atoms with the same amount of protons and electrons, but different numbers of neutrons. Yay. Their components do not decay over time. By studying stable isotope ratios in human bones, such as the skull, bioarchaeologists can learn about eating habits and migration patterns of ancient humans. Because, what was it? It's something to do with... The problem with me was I never got... My first year at uni, I've only been doing vague theoretical stuff, so I've not been really delving into what this should be. Which, you think the course would be about. It's not, it's just been, it's all like theories. It's like, no, I want to know practical shit like this. Over the river! Oh, I could have just done this instead. Got my trousers wet for no reason. Hello! A cargo ship, the Nor. The seafaring medieval Scandinavian people had many types of vessel, but the one that they probably used the most was the cargo ship, the ocean-going trader sometimes called the Nor. As seen in this image, the ocean-going trader's hull was the broadest, widest and deepest of all Norse ships. This allowed her to bear more weight than her brethren, up to 24 tons in cargo. Because the Nor could carry such heavy loads, the ship was often used for commercial activities such as trade or transport. The ocean-going trader was adaptable, so she could sail across both vast seas and shallow inland rivers. She could carry Scandinavian settlers and their livestock to the colonies, be they neighbouring territories like Anglo-Saxon Britain or distant shores like Iceland or Greenland. As a merchant ship, the ocean-going trader did not need to manoeuvre as quickly as a warship. This meant she needed fewer crewsmen and oars to keep her to help her change course. Conveniently, this left more room for cargo and merchandise. More the merrier, in which case the more money. Oh, balls, I missed that one over there. Right, swim back across. Randby. Coastal trader. The coastal trader was a light, practical Norse ship designed to carry cargo. Easy to handle, she weighed so little that she could be pulled onto shore or even carried on the Viking shoulders from one current to the next, as we saw last time. While the coastal trader is sometimes seen as the little sister of the cargo ship, the two were different in looks, load and function. As seen in this picture, the coastal trader had a rounder shape, higher freeboard, yeah, I don't know what that meant then, than the cargo ship. She was also much lighter, so light that she could carry no more than 4 or 5 tons at a time. Too much weight and she might sink or capsize. The coastal trader also relied much more on oars to navigate rivers than larger ships did. This meant that she needed a larger crew to man those oars, between 10 to 15 sailors. Light as she was, the coastal trader was usually used to carry domestic cargo along the Scandinavian coast. Nevertheless, she was still able to cross great distances offshore, transporting goods, merchants and sailors from Scandinavia to its colonies. This is what I mean. I'm starting to see a very huge amount of repetition going on with these. And this is another reason why I was never a fan of this. I mean, there was vague repetition with the last one. But here it's starting to become almost every single fucking thing we find. The only thing that isn't is the stuff that Sean Hastings talks over, because, you know, fucking suckeeps off dick. The cross and the hammer. Many stone monuments have been found in the Danelaw. Some are engraved with both Christian and heathen symbols, suggesting that many Anglo-Scandinavians held on to their pagan beliefs even after they had become Christian. For some reason I was thinking of something else. The slow merging of Christian and pagan beliefs can be seen in these two artefacts. This pendant of Thor's hammer has been decorated with a Christian cross. The person who wore it was likely both pagan and had Christian beliefs. I've got a replica of that one. I don't know if it's based off this actual one here, but I've got a Thor's hammer that looks like that. Like maybe a bit shorter, but literally facsimile of. This mould has been carved to cast both Christian crosses and the Norse god Thor's hammer in metal. The craftsman who owned it could use it to make pendants for his customers, whether they were Christians, heathens, or somewhere in between. What's this one about then? York the Haunted.
I don't know if you like rumours, but I do, and rumour has it York is one of England's most haunted cities. Built by the Romans, it's said that ghosts of fallen soldiers still roam the city, inspiring a locally brewed beverage, the Centurion's Ghost. Must be a pale ale. To emulate this mystical atmosphere, level designers took the opportunity to place an underground location, reusing Roman-era abandoned sewers. It's a way for players to walk around unnoticed. But what if those ghost rumours are true? They're not true. Ghosts don't exist. Sleep well.
But what about the famous story of Harry Martindale?
No.
And the Roman soldiers? I think I've met him. I could have sworn I bumped into him at one point when I was around York. I didn't know it at the time. It was one of those, walked past him and then kind of went, oh, that's Harry Martindale. Oh. And just carried on. I was like, I'll leave him alone, don't want to bother him. So, have you heard the story about the Roman soldiers? And I was like, no. And I was like, no. I've still got the DVD of, like, ghost stories of York, and it's got him actually telling the story. And he's just like, you know, I don't bloody lie. And I'm like, so I thought I heard a car horn, and I was like, what the fuck's that? So what's that then? It's Roman soldiers. Oh, there are, Harry. Yeah, sadly he's no longer with us. Still have one of those horrible memories. You know, sometimes you look back on your life and you just look at how stupid you were as a person. I mean, I did that every day, but I personally hate it. Because I look back and go, oh god, cringe. So mature, how childish. Ah, hello.
It seems that Vikings and Anglo-Saxons could roughly understand each other at the time, as both of their languages sounded similar and had diverged only a few centuries before. To help actors during the recordings, the voice design team relied on linguists such as runologist Maya Bakval of Uppsala University. Uppsala. Well, it makes me kind of happy, that word. Lines were then written in 3 versions, in English, for context, in the original language, Latin, Old Norse, Old English, and in phonetics for accurate pronunciation.
That's what I need.
Pronunciation, like that. Interestingly, it felt quite natural for Icelandic actors to pronounce Old Norse. Well, they wouldn't need a dictionary if their great-great-great-great-grandparents were around to translate, though that would be very unlikely.
I was going to say, they're the 2 voice actors for Eivor. So he does kind of look like Eivor. Sort of. I suppose she did. I wonder if they've based it on their faces. Maybe they did. Don't forget, this is the first game to let you play as a woman. Fuck off, Ubisoft. And again, not the developers, CEOs and marketers. Some of the marketers. Was it the CEOs that said it? It probably was the CEOs, or some executive said it. As we all know in the gaming industry, executives are cretins. Many people sculpted stone to express religious beliefs or to celebrate individuals and events. These stunning works of art shed light on the lives of those who created them. Delicious. About 400 Anglo-Scandinavian stone sculptures were erected between 876 and 1066 CE. This surge in new sculptures suggested that the Danelaw population was growing and becoming wealthier. Oh dear. Tried to stifle a... Oh dear, that was silly. Anyway, this surge in new sculptures suggested... Some of these sculptures were engraved with both Christian and heathen symbols. For example, this cross features both the crucified form of Christ and intricate pagan patterns. So it's like the knots there and stuff. This could mean that Christian and pagan beliefs were becoming more and more woven together. That's just... This is what I mean by how much of it is just repetitive. I should not have drank the Pepsi Max. That looks cool. I'll give props to the game for so many things, but definitely a few things I didn't give it props for. The world comes to Jorvik. In the early Middle Ages, the centre of European trade moved from the Mediterranean to the northern seas. This brought goods and riches from all over the world to the Scandinavian town of Jorvik. Goods were brought all the way from Eastern Asia to Jorvik's markets. The settlers could get their hands on exotic products like spices, cinnamon and pepper, silk, or that's a spice, or as shown here, a carnelian bead, all the way from India. Nice. The Scandinavians like to show off how wealthy they were. Wearing a silk tunic or a headdress was a great way to let the world know how rich you were. And look, I've got my carnelian bead on my eye. Aren't it wealthy? Trig old bean.
Trick started unloading without me, I see. Heavy labor before getting married. Your bride won't want to seal the covenant with a kiss.
If you don't want me to sweat so much, you can help me move these wares to a stall.
I give you your freedom and you see fit to order me around. You're lucky I've no more expeditions to tempt you with.
Ah, Edith would never have it. She means to settle and raise a fine crop of golden-haired Angles.
I've never dared ask what drew you to her. I know there are many fine Norse women who Devastated when you announced your betrothal.
She brought me to our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. I know that doesn't seem like much to some, yet she also thinks differently. Every conversation is a discovery of where our family traditions overlap and where they differ.
A meeting of hearts and minds, then. You're doubly blessed.
Thrice, Thorstein, for your friendship and our new trade partnership.
Your hard work made me a rich man. It's only fair I return the favor.
Oh god. Sorry, I didn't put it in the right fucking position, did I? Not that it fucking matters. Is there another box? I don't know. Why make us carry 3? Why not just bring 1 and I'll be done with it? Jesus Christ.
Well, you met it.
Just double checking we found everything. So everything we unlock now is a bonus. Seriously? Complete the day's trade.
I'll have to make a few sales today to cover the cost of Trick's wedding gift. Welcome to Jorvik. I have fine wools from across the sea, mead and honey from the lands to the south, and warm winter pelts from the northern tribes.
Good day. I've traveled from the Caliphate in search of gifts for the wedding of my daughter. I need 16 ells of wool, the pelt of a large bear, and 3 pots of summer honey. I hear your prices are excellent.
You've heard true. Let me tally the cost. For all those goods, I would ask a mere 2 ounces of gold.
You drive a hard bargain, but I've been assured your quality is second to none. All right, I'll pay your price.
I hope you'll send others to see me as well.
Good day to you, sir. We're looking for donations to help the sick and the poor. Do you have anything you could offer?
A noble cause, to be certain. Let me think. I can give you some mead and some meat to fill empty bellies. But I'm afraid I can do little more.
Any donation is welcome, brother. The Lord favors those who give joyfully.
One hour later.
Bjorn! It's been many months. How goes the northern trade?
Not well. The pigs are savages. The Angles are little better. They all want something for nothing, with no middle ground to be had.
Surely that's the nature of business, my friend. Finding a bargain that will work for everyone.
Not when I owe money to Guthrum, it isn't. Can I count on you, Thorstein? If his men come for me, will you stand by my side?
Take the cloak pins from that shelf and sell them in the marketplace. They'll fetch a fine price for little effort.
Enough to keep Guthrum happy while I find buyers for my other wares, to be sure. You've saved me again, brother. Thank you.
Bartering and Hacksilver. Oh, good, we get to know what bloody Hacksilver is. Because I'm curious of what it is. Even though coins were slowly becoming the main currency, barter remained a common tool of exchange. Oh, we're supposed to haggle! This style of trade implied a system, however informal, that measured the equivalent of value of goods. Yeah, I think Hacksilver is literally just silver chopped up, isn't it? Yeah. For example, a trader could have negotiated how many hens he could get in exchange for 3 walrus tusks. Alongside bartering come the practice of silver hacking. When Vikings got their hands on silver items, they used to chop hack them up. These silver hacks were more convenient to carry and easier to use in a value-weighted transactions. Yeah, there we are. Hacked silver could eventually be melted and moulded to form bullion, such as the example depicted here. Yeah, literally, like, you think bullion, you think of the, you know, the big bars, and it's like, no, they're like little sticks. These were like the equivalent of coinage until they actually fully adopted coinage, but this is what they kind of had. I knew it was something to do with, like, silver that was chopped up. Jesus, look at all these. Ah, the rune carver. The runes!
Hello. I would like to commission a runestone to commemorate many years of happiness and success with my wife.
A fine choice, with many options.
I was afraid of that. Show me.
First, you will need to select the type of stone.
Granite, please.
A solid choice. It will weather the elements for generations to come.
Yeah, because limestone gets worn down by the wind and the rain.
Yes, it is.
Then let us continue. Now you will need to choose what you want engraved on your runestone.
Love me. I love you, Gunhilda. Kiss me. I know you well.
A declaration for the ages. Is this the inscription you want?
Yes.
I'll get started on it right away. Your wife is sure to be happy with the results. All that remains is to confirm the design you would like me to carve for you.
Gladly.
A new mixed identity. The church often framed the world in black and white, depicting Christians and heathens both fighting a raging war for supremacy of their beliefs. However, truth was much more nuanced than Christian writers' written sources suggest. It appears that heathens and Christians in Anglo-Saxon Britain managed to overcome their differences, coming together as people living under the same rulers and sharing the same land. With time, with no regard for their origins, the peoples living in the Danelaw would come to see each other as one and the same people. Anglo-Scandinavians may have considered themselves as much Danes as English. This handle was a result of mixed Anglo-Scandinavian craftsmanship. Is it a bone handle? Copper alloy cast. Oh, okay. So just. Oh yeah, that's rust. What am I thinking of?
This looks like a nicely hewn runestone.
It is tall and proud. A runestone will declare your words to the world for all the ages. It is a symbol of strength, wealth, and remembrance. Do you want a runestone for your wife? A good, solid runestone will soon be yours then. I am certain your wife will be delighted with the results. Then we are all done.
Alright, where's Triggers?
Well, you made it. And it seems you washed. Both admirable qualities in a husband.
Is that because I was in the water? Is that what they've...
Some kind of standard.
The trick is to let it slip, little by little, as the years go by.
Is this truly your advice on how to begin a marriage?
No, my friend. It's advice on how to end one.
When the threads get tangled like that, you need to take a walk to cool your head. One small move and you'll need to cut the whole cloth free.
Easy to say, harder to do. I swear, some days the shuttle has a mind of its own.
Those are the days you most need to rest. Come back with a clear head and you'll find the shuttle is more agreeable as well.
What a vision stands before me. But of course, my wife had an excellent canvas to work with.
Ever the flatterer, Thorstein. Don't you know I'm soon to be a married woman?
Which is why I must get all of my compliments in now, before you turn as haggard as Gunhilda.
One of these days, she won't forgive you for these jests.
Then on that day, I hope the gods themselves will intervene.
Wow, the guests, just all two of them. Oh, it's the... There he is.
Trig brought me to one of those Christian gatherings last week. I didn't understand a word of it, but your conviction was riveting.
You honor me, Thorstein. Praise from the merchant with the silver tongue speaks volumes to my success in communicating God's glory.
It's a task you're most well suited for.
I try, my son. Brothers and sisters, we are gathered here today to witness a merging of the traditions of Northumbria and Norway, as Trig and Edith begin their new life together. Here, where Edith's mother and father are buried, may they give their blessing to this holy union as they watch from within the Lord's sight. Love is patient and kind. It is not boastful or proud. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails. Trig, do you take Edith to be your wife, here in the sight of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ?
I do.
Edith, do you take Trig to be your husband, with Almighty God and your parents' souls as witness?
I do.
Then let no man separate what God has joined together. For yours is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
May Freya bless you with many children, and Thor protect you from life's storms.
Thank you, my friends.
Marriage was seen mainly as an exchange between two families, a business transaction. While this might suggest that the feelings of the wedded couples counted for little, love could still have played a key role in forging the initial alliance. Yeah, some of them, yeah. There are many reasons that could spur two clans to join themselves in matrimony. The union could be social, political, commercial, and even spiritual. In this last case, a marriage between Christians and heathens would have required the conversion and baptism of the groom or bride. Marriages between Scandinavians and Anglo-Saxons were her driving force for change in the northern part of the island. They slowly but surely fostered the emergence of a people that scholars today call the Anglo-Scandinavians. This arm ring made of solid gold could have been a marvellous wedding gift. Oh, yes, it could have been. Oh, delightful.
I'm so happy for them.
With any luck, their marriage will be as long and prosperous as ours.
I don't know about that. There's a new baker in Coppergate who's quite caught my eye.
Then I suppose I'd best learn to bake.
Thorstein! I've been looking everywhere. I said you would vouch for me, but they want the gold now!
Slow down, Bjorn. We'll talk to them together.
I fear they want to do more than talk, brother.
My husband and I are on our way home.
This won't take long, I promise. Keep that delicious stew of yours by the fire, and I'll be back before you can lay out the bowls.
If you don't have him home before moonrise, I will come and find you. You won't like what happens after that.
Please, Thorstein, quickly!
Keep the hearth warm for me, my love.
Fiua sinda wild ni chorene. De navare wenda to Christe.
You coddle him, my love. He's a grown man, not an errant child.
Slaves talk, Gunilda. If he returns to his family and says we mistreated him, I might find myself in a duel.
No duels until you've worked on your swordsmanship. Where are you?
Also, why are you and what the hell's going on? And why am I plodding along?
Thorstein, wait!
I should know better than to ever doubt you.
Thorstein, where are you? Let me help you! How are you so quick to forget? I don't trust him.
What happened? I was stressed. I can't remember.
Well, that's not normal. Gee, I wonder where the hell we are. Jotunheim? Right, so we're in the completely wrong place.
Come over here, don't be shy.
No, you're right. I'm gonna go over here. Bye. I have discovery things to find first, then I'll be right with you. Yggdrasil, the World Tree. In Norse mythology, good start. In Norse mythology, Yggdrasil, the World Tree, was the backbone of the entire universe. The tree was older than creation itself. It was believed that the 9 worlds of Norse mythology were held within Yggdrasil's roots and branches. Some imagine Yggdrasil as an oak tree, others as an ash. This artist has embraced the words of Norse skalds or poets, who described it as breathtakingly beautiful. For some reason they could see it. Along with the Nine Worlds, Yggdrasil was home to many creatures of Norse mythology. Among them, Rotatskir. Rotatskir? I don't know. The wisecracking squirrel. Who could carry gossip from one branch of Yggdrasil to another, or from one world to the next. Cheeky squirrel bastard. Jotuns. They look like Navi. Giants, children of Ymir. No, they're not. They're the Titans. In Norse mythology, the very first being was called Ymir. Ymir was created when fire met and melted ice. The race of giants, the Jotuna, are said to have been born from the sweat of Ymir's armpit. Hooray! Ugh. Even though giants and gods were often enemies in Norse mythology, some gods were part giant themselves. According to legend, the god Odin was a descendant of Ymir. This did not stop him from defeating and slaying his ancestor. To escape Odin, the other giants sailed away on Ymir's blood until they reached a new world, Jotunheim. Norse lore described Jotunheim as a harsh place, filled with cold, stark landscapes. This artist has sought to capture the eerie, enormous and unsettling world. Bloody works with those creepy faces. The giants lived in both Jotunheim and Muspelheim, the world of fire and ashes. The leader of the Muspels, Surtur, was a cruel giant capable of terrible destruction, and also he was a son of a bitch. The legends say that he is destined to bring fire and death to Asgard, land of the gods, at Ragnarok, the end of days. The end of days! Ragnarok. And then Korg will be there, and he'll be like, piss off, giants! I don't like giants. Smelly bastards. Won't be very good against 3 vampires, unless they're standing close together. Sacred mead of poetry. Mead was a sacred drink for the Norse people, and it bloody should be, it's delicious. It was made from fermented honey, water and spices. According to legend, the very first mead had another ingredient, blood. It also had magical powers that can give the gift of poetry. Actually going to tell the story of who it was? Yes, they are. Good. Long ago, there lived a god called Kvasir? That bloke. Kvasir, I think that's how it is. Kvasir was one of the most intelligent and knowledgeable creatures in the universe. He travelled a lot, sharing his wisdom, until one day 2 dwarves decided to keep the knowledge for themselves. They killed Kvasir to steal his wisdom. They then mixed his blood with honey to create the very first mead. It was a magical potion that could give anyone who drank it the power of skaldic poetry. Norse people with poetic gifts were said to have tasted this magical mead, seen here contained in a drinking horn in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Yes. Doesn't it look nice? There's another one. Okay. Didn't particularly want to go on the let me just check that's not stopped this thing. No, it hasn't, just checking. Didn't say I wanted to go on the online thing, Ubisoft. Don't say I care. No, nothing on the map's popping up, so I'm just going to keep going. I'd imagine it's one that's going to appear once we talk to the stranger, whose name was revealed in the subtitles anyway, so he's not really a stranger anymore. Ooh, can I? No. I can't punch the ice. Oh yeah, no combat. Ooh. Oh dear. Hello.
Where am I?
Jotunheim, land of the giants. Loki thought it would be fun to play a trick on you humans.
I need a word with him.
Feisty! Don't waste the time. Loki's always up to no good. He probably did it so I wouldn't notice him stealing my stuff. And the scoundrel was right.
This must be a dream.
Loki the trickster. Of all the Scandinavian deities, Loki was the most chaotic and unpredictable. With his cunning and intelligence, tremendous magical powers, and shape-shifting abilities, he could do whatever he wanted. Ooh. Loki was a trickster. It was hard to know whose side he was on. He would gladly help the gods and goddesses in their quests, but his undeniable appetite for trickery would always win out, pushing him to betray them. One of his greatest betrayals was to cause the death of Balder, a crime that did not go unpunished. I think that's where he got locked up and had the poison stuff dripped all over him. Oh no, it's right here. This drawing shows the fate of Loki suffered as punishment for his deadly trickery. The gods compelled him to stay under a serpent with poison dripping from its fangs. Each drop would burn his flesh, bringing Loki terrible pain. Fortunately for him, his wife Sigyn vowed to stay beside him, placing a bowl between the serpent's maw and her lover's face to collect the poison and to stop it from reaching him, until she had to empty the bowl, leaving him temporarily unprotected. When the venom dripped upon him, Loki would writhe in pain, causing the earth to shake. Silly Loki.
I wish it was. Then I wouldn't be stuck cleaning up Loki's messes anymore. Come.
Oh, it's right there. I might go up there. I might have to go up there anyway, so...
Are you supposed to be Thor, the Giant Slayer?
What do you mean supposed to be? I am Thor.
I'll have to take your word for it. My mind feels like someone's poked holes in it.
Do not worry about that. We will have to restore your memory to find out where you belong anyway. But first, you must help me.
What could I possibly do that the god of the people cannot?
I need you to find my gauntlets and belt. Without them, I cannot use my hammer. And without my hammer, I would not last long in a village full of giants. So I need you to handle it. Once you get my things, I will take you to the Well of Mimir. Easy.
For you?
You will not be harmed. God's honor. But I will be waiting for you here. Just in case.
Thor. Thor was the warrior god of thunder. He fought with Mjolnir, a powerful and magical hammer. Thor was also a god of fertility, as his chariot crossed the sky, pulled by 2 goats he brought storms and rain that fed the fields. Son of the god Odin and the giantess Jorda, Thor presided over strength, both physical and mental. Really? I thought he was going to be a bit thick. Well, not entirely thick, but not subtle, let's say that. He was a paragon of honour, courage and luck. Again, was he? Courage, yes. Luck, yes. Honour... depends who you ask. While recent pop culture has sometimes depicted Thor as more brawn than brains, this does not align with his characterizations in Norse myth. The truth is that Thor, like his father Odin, was allegedly well versed in poetry, especially the Heiti, the Old Norse poetic device similar to the kenning. Thor was also the protector of the people. His hammer, which is depicted here, was worn as a talisman around the neck to promote good fortune, prosperity, and to protect its wearer. His rule as a defender and his exemplary social values helped to make him the most popular deity of the North. This can be seen in the large number of toponyms and surnames containing the prefix Thur or Thur, as well as in the names of our Norse hero to the discovery tour, Thorstein. Yeah. I thought he was meant to be a bit, not entirely thick, but I don't know, I wouldn't class Thor as stupid, but I wouldn't exactly class him as a world-renowned genius who talked his way out of problems. He was very much someone who would easily go and smash shit if he had to smash shit.
giants.
But where's the BFG?
Are you lost?
The big fucking giant.
They seem much more peaceful than in the sagas.
Yeah, again, they weren't screaming mad people.
That must be Thor's belt. This barrel seems refreshing. And a great place to hide something. Gloves. It's back to Thor.
Er þið þú Egilsson? Hann var svo drukkinn að þeysti upp úr honum.
What's your problem with those giants? They seem pretty peaceful to me.
They belittled me. All right, let's go.
Are we going to Midgard?
Oh, to Mimir as well. You must be certain Midgard is where you're meant to be. Mimir will know.
His name sounds familiar.
As far back as I can remember, my father Odin has craved knowledge and wisdom of any kind. But he came to be obsessed with his future, and more especially his own downfall. So he too drank the well's magical water. But to access it, he had to sacrifice his eye to Mimir, the well's guardian.
I see. Pay a toll to acquire what you seek.
Exactly. You must be prepared. You won't get out of there the same as you've entered. Do you know what you will sacrifice?
It will take some thought.
The god Odin hungered for secret and mysterious knowledge. To sate his appetite for wisdom, he would go, or give, anything. Or do, so to say. According to legend, Odin wanted to discover what the future held for him. His desire to know what lay in store conflicted with the universal order and the will of the Norns, the keepers of fate. To find the answer, Odin went to Mimir's Well, a magical place nestled within the roots of Yggdrasil, the cosmic tree. Supposedly, whoever drank from Mimir's waters would be blessed with secret and precious knowledge, such as the ins and outs of fate itself. However, this wisdom was costly, and those who sought it would be required to pay a heavy price. To buy the knowledge he sought, Odin sacrificed one of his eyes. He received a nasty scar in return, as seen in this piece of concept art. Yes. Yes. Not very close up and you can't zoom it in, but yes, assume his eye has a scar.
Here we are. Off you go.
You're not coming with me.
Do you really need more hand-holding?
Yes, I'm
Go.
scared.
I will wait for you. Oh, and be respectful. Mimir doesn't have the same tolerance for mortals that I do.
What happened?
I sacrificed the only thing I had. My hammer, my human vessel.
Mimir didn't grant you the knowledge you sought?
I wanted to best my enemies. To see the looks on their faces as all their plans came to naught. Now I'm trapped here. I can never return to Midgard. What's the point of outwitting your foes if they'll never even know it?
Ah, I see.
Be careful. Learn from my mistake. Don't sacrifice anything you will regret. Why?
The next question is that on top of the mountain or is that inside it? No, it's looking like it's on top. I'll climb to where it should be, and then if it's not there, then it's inside. Oh god. Maybe it is inside, because if you can't climb up then... to it. Yeah, it is inside. At the very bottom of the World Tree was the Well of Mimir, or Mimir's Bruna. According to Norse myth, the water of the well was magical. Those who drank it would be given great knowledge at a terrible price. Eons ago, a great war shook the World Tree to its roots. Divine armies of different realms clashed on the battlefield. Eventually a truce was called, and hostages were exchanged to keep the peace. One of these hostages was Mimir, a god of knowledge and intelligence, and a good friend to Odin, the Allfather. Mimir's time as a hostage ended badly when he lost his head, literally. His captors sent the head back to his friend Odin, who preserved it with magic. Odin's skill and power allowed Mimir to remain alive as a head without a body. Mimir was placed beside the well at the bottom of Yggdrasil, seen here in our sketches of Assassin's Creed Valhalla. There he could oversee the magical waters and make sure that no one drank from them without paying the price. The price.
Enter, Thorstein of Midgard. I know what you seek. Reveal your sacrifice, and your desire may be granted.
As I know nothing of my past, and own nothing of value, I can only sacrifice my future. Reaching the great hall of Odin upon my death would be the greatest honor. Wise Mimir, I sacrifice to you my chance to ever enter Valhalla.
Thorstein of Midgard, you have chosen to sacrifice any hope to fight alongside Odin at Ragnarok. Let it be so. You may drink from my waters now, and remember your past. The betrayal of someone close has brought you here.
I died. Bjorn. Bjorn did this to me. Why?
You have the answers you sought.
No, I need to know. What happened to Gunhilda?
You cannot drink again. You have nothing left to sacrifice.
Wait! Mimir, come back! Gunhilda. Now that I finally remember your face, is seeing you again the future I gave up?
That's the one, yep. Medieval Scandinavians believed that the deceased were assigned to a specific resting place located somewhere throughout the branches and roots of Yggdrasil, the cosmic tree, where they lived in death depending on how they lived in life. Some among the dead were chosen to enter the golden paradise of Asgard. Their ascension was in part because they had lived an honourable life. In Asgard there were two places they could rest. The first was Valhalla, the Hall of the Slain, ruled by Odin, where only deceased men could enter. This vibrant illustration showed what this mysterious, glorious place could have looked like. The second was Folkvangr, the People's Field. In this place, the most mysterious of all, it seems, that the goddess of love Freya welcomed both honourable men and women, perhaps reuniting those separated by death. Ancient Scandinavians believed that magic beings coexisted peacefully within every human. Each of these spirits had a role that contributed to making a person unique and whole. According to the Norse, the Hugir and the Hamir made up two parts of the self. The Hugir was an individual's personality and conscious mental process. It combined their personhood, thoughts, wishes and desires. The Hugir was a person's deep inner self, the essential nature of their being. The Hamir, in contrast, was an individual's external self. The Hamir was a person's appearance and shape, their physical form, as perceived by others through the senses. To act with authenticity, one tried to express one's Hugir, or the inner self, in one's Hamir, their outer self. Another entity attached to a human being was the Fylgir. Their individual guardian spirit or angel. Legend said that this totemic spirit could take on the appearance of an animal. Put together, these parts of the self formed a link between each mortal and the magical web of the cosmos. In a way, this link could have been represented by Odin's messengers, the ravers Hugin, Thought, and Munin, Memory, for they too were spiritual agents of liaison between the world of humans and the world of the gods. Engraved on this stone is Odin, flanked by his feathered companions, David and David, because he couldn't think of a good name.
Dead all along?
There was a high chance, yes. I do not know of death as you humans do. To us gods, death is only part of an endless cycle of rebirth. Until Ragnarok, that is.
Well, I don't have that privilege. What am I to do now?
I could take you to the Norns. Only they will know where you ought to go.
I'm tired of being thrown around like a wet cloth. Is this the god's humor?
Only Loki's. I hate that he's using my people against me. You were caught in the middle, and I am sorry.
Your excuses won't bring me back to life.
There! My faithful goats Tangrisnir and Tangnjoster will take us to Asgard. To the Norns.
This is your chariot?
You cannot see its true form. Do not be fooled by my goat's size. They are mightier than 100 giants. Shall we go?
Yes. I can't stand the sight of this place anymore. I see them, but they hardly seem to notice me.
The Norns. The destiny of every being was intertwined, their fates knit together into the great fabric of existence. According to some legends, this tapestry of life was woven by the Norns, the keepers of fate. Little is known about the Norns, for they are shrouded in mystery. 3 of them were called Urd, the past, Verdande, the present, and Skuld, the future. Legend said that they lived in the Well of Urda, or the Well of Fate. Thinking of Arda for some reason. Maybe that's where you got it from. This mysterious place could be found under one of the roots of the World Tree. The stunning concert of Assassin's Creed Valhalla shows the Norns represented as statues surrounding the entrance of the well. Look at that great wing. Fate was considered the most powerful force in the cosmos. This magical, self-conscious flow of energy linked everything and everyone together. Unstoppable and uncompromising, fate dragged everyone through time and space. The dictum, or destiny, prescribed by fate was unyielding. Men, gods and monsters, whether as individuals or members of a clan, had to bend to the will of fate. No one could alter it, and everyone had to accept it. Scandinavian legends say that the time will come when the harmony of the universe collapses into a fight of cataclysmic proportions. This is the ultimate fate of the 9 worlds, an apocalyptic, fatalistic outcome called Ragnarok. This drawing shows a scene from the epic final big fight, whatever. Here's Vidar, the son of Odin, avenging his father's death by killing the monstrous wolf Fenrir with his stick. He's like, that looks horrible in there, but use this toothpick to get that crap out your teeth.
A human in the Well of Urur. This I had to see for myself.
I've come to seek the Norns' counsel, and find an end to this meandering.
Of course. Another victim of Loki's mischief. I understand your frustration, but we cannot approach the Norns, nor the threats they weave.
These cats seem to have approached them just fine.
Mighty creatures, are they not? Loki brought them here. They entangled the threats and made a mess. But no matter, your threat followed its course. Nothing can ever change your destiny. Trust me, I've tried.
What about my wife, Gunhilda? Do you know where she is?
I wouldn't care to know. You are in Asgard, talking to the All-Father, and all you can think of as your wife. You mortals have such one-trick minds. Take your questions to Freya, along with these cats of hers. She'll know how to indulge you.
All right then. How do I get out of here?
It will take longer for me to explain than to just send you away. Good luck.
The All-Father. Odin was the leader and the chief of the gods. He presided over many domains such as magic, poetry, runes, death, and victory. Highly intelligent and terribly cunning, he was not to be disobeyed. When Odin sat on Hilgeslaf, I'm going to go with that one, his magical throne, his magical lavatory, he sought to absorb the actions of every being in existence. His gaze could pierce through flesh and bone to perceive humanity's most intimate desires. After all, he was a god with an overwhelming appetite for secrets. This position of all-knowing watcher earned him the nickname All-Father. Legend said that Odin would frequently travel through the 9 realms of Yggdrasil, the cosmic tree, riding his 8-legged horse Sleipnir, and followed by his raving companions Hugin and Munin. The quartet is represented here in this drawing. Is it a nice drawing? Hello, kitty. That's a fucking big kitty.
If these are Freya's cats, they must be leading to her.
According to Norse myth, Yggdrasil the World Tree was at the centre of the universe. Everything existed around it, and all the 9 worlds were grouped within its roots and branches. Yggdrasil was nearly symmetrical. So that never then. Its branches were as long as its roots, and they almost touched in a circle. This circular quality symbolised order and eternity. The highest of the 9 realms was Asgard. Placed in Yggdrasil's upper branches, Asgard was home to the Aesir gods, including Odin and Thor. The lowest realm nestled among Yggdrasil's roots was Helheim, the land of the dead, governed by the goddess Hel. Right in the middle of Yggdrasil was Midgard, or Middle-earth, where the mortal humans lived. The other realms were Alfheim, home to the Light Elves, Svartalheim, home of the Dark Elves and Dwarves, Vanaheim, kingdom of the Vanir, a tribe of gods, Niflheim, the icy and frostbitten netherworld, Muspelheim, seen here, where brimstone, fire and smoke reign supreme, and Jotunheim, home of the giants.
Jotunheim.
Why is that in a Greek style? I don't... Come to think of it, yeah, why are these in Greek? That makes no sense. I mean, I know the game before this was the Greek one, but...
Am I following them, or are they following me?
The only way to reach Asgard, the realm of the gods, was by crossing the Rainbow Bridge, the Bifrost, or Bifrost. The shimmering, flaming bridge was almost indestructible. It could only be broken at Ragnarok, the end of days. Oh, the end of the first Thor film. The Rainbow Bridge seen here in concept art for Assassin's Creed Valhalla was protected by the god Heimdall. Heimdall shone as bright as a flame from head to toe. His teeth were solid gold and gleamed like the sun. His eyesight was sharper than an eagle's, and he could hear everything everywhere. This made him perfect for his task, standing watch over the entrance to Asgard. All day and all night Heimdall would scan the horizon for threats, a vigilant protector of the realm. According to legend, Heimdall standing watch will one day see enemy armies crossing the Bifrost. As the troops storm the Rainbow Bridge, Heimdall will blow his great horn Gallenhorn to warn the gods that the end of Asgard is nigh, for Ragnarok has come at last. Blow a great big horn out his bum. The Volva, a soothsayer. The Volvors, or Volvors, were known for their skill in divination. With knowledge passed down across generations of women, these seeresses would journey through time and space, divining the future through magic and rituals. One way to divine was to read the runes. Each one held a different power. Another way to gain magical insight was through a ritual trance, the Seedir. The first person to practice the Seedir was the goddess Freya. This trance may have involved a wand or staff, symbolically ending like a spindle, as they were used to spin the threads of fate. Once spun, the threads could be read and understood. A Volva was likely to live a little bit on the fringes of society, for her powers were mysterious and intimidating. She could help people, but she could also harm them. The Seedir ritual could be used to curse someone. In spinning the threads of fate, a Volva could potentially damage a person's destiny. Dun 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 dun. Oh, is this Fenrir? Oh god, it is. Don't he look horrible?
Being the land of mighty gods, Asgard had to be scaled accordingly. To create this sense of magnitude, level designers played on heights with towers that reach up into the sky to meet the immense branches of Yggdrasil, the mythical world tree. The wolf, Fenrir, went through the same fate. Indeed, the infamous beast is 10 times the size of a normal wolf, thanks to the character modelers. To set AC Valhalla's Asgard apart, developers focused on depicting the myths of the Viking sagas, with doors to other realms, Well of Norns, and so on, combined with glimpses of Eivor's past life and memories. A great shame it'll all be destroyed come Ragnarok.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'm just gonna climb and leg it now.
I'm going to level with you now and prepare yourself. Vikings did not wear horned helmets. This dreadful misconception came from the Wagnerian opera The Ring of the Nibelung from 1876, but you knew that. Horned and winged helmets were at that stage part of the actors' costumes, a way for the warriors to seem more grandiose on stage. Ever since then, depictions of Vikings wearing big horned helmets were in plentiful supply, and this wrongful image has persisted to this day. Beside the fact that horned helmets would have been anything but practical on the battlefield, it seems that the very few ones found by archaeologists were only used for ritual purposes. So you can use that fact next time you want to ruin a Viking's Halloween party.
Vaknat hit síðasta.
The goddess Freya. The goddess Freya was renowned for her stunning beauty. She cared for women in childbirth and was linked to fertility. Freya was also very skilled at magic. Freya was the most gifted among the Norse gods at Cedar, the art of divination or prophecy. Cedar allowed one to travel beyond space and time to catch a glimpse of what fate had in store. Odin learned how to see the future from Freya. Freya also had an unusual way of getting around. Legend has it that she loved to surround herself with cats. In fact, her chariot was not pulled by horses, but two massive blue and grey cats, gifts from the Norse god of thunder, Thor. This pendant represents the goddess, could have been used in ceremonies or offerings to honour her. Looks like she's like, la 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 la, don't want to listen, I'm too busy divinating, la la la. I believe that's all of it now, we just need to finish the thing we're doing.
Freya must know that cats are better creatures than people.
Go, little Mew.
Never imagined I'd spend my afterlife leading a herd of cats. I'm surprised they're even awake. I'm covered in cat hair now.
My cats, come here, my darlings. I've looked all over for you.
Goddess Freya, I've brought back...
Thank you. I'm surprised they followed you here. Who are you?
Thorstein of Midgard. The All-Father sent me to see you. I've died, and I have nowhere to go.
I see. Odin knows I cannot resist a stray in need. Listen, darling. Everyone has somewhere they ought to be. Even you. Follow me.
Each medieval Scandinavian possessed their own fixed and inevitable destiny. Since individual identity was deeply grounded in community and lineage, a person's destiny was tightly intertwined with that of their kin. An individual inherited certain rules and values from their kin. According to legend, ancestors would visit the young in dreams to pass on the family's wisdom. These values could also be shared with descendants by the family's Haminja, or guardian spirit. In these dreamland family reunions, children would learn about about their forefathers' greatness and their failures. They would learn about authenticity, how a member of their family could and should behave to stay true to their values and to themselves. Through these experiences, the young would eventually learn about their own strengths and weaknesses and be able to pinpoint their true nature. By acting according to that nature, they would therefore be able to properly fulfill their destiny. Belonging to a lineage also involved a duty to remember the destinies of ancestors past. Scandinavians would raise rune stones to honour the memories of their loved ones, as seen in this picture over here. Oh, there's one more here we've not found. Otherwise, we're all complete, I think. Yep, just the one, which I'm assuming we're going to unlock as we go.
But I've given up all hope of entering Valhalla.
Then you were never destined to reach Valhalla.
How so? I lived a good and honorable life. Don't I deserve an honorable death?
Maybe, just not in Odin's great home. You shall accompany me to Folkvanger, my home.
Will my wife be there? Have you seen Gunhilda?
I do not know, but if it's her fate, she will join you there.
I'd go through 1,000 deaths if it meant seeing her again.
Your love is true and strong. Your fates must be intertwined. All hope isn't lost, but I do not make promises of outcomes I cannot control.
If Loki hadn't interfered with my thread...
You would have ended up just where you are now, with or without Loki's hand.
How can you tolerate his misdeeds? It's the one thing I never understood.
We are not to question it. It's just who he is. Loki, just as any of us, is a part of the greater scheme. But I know how you must feel. I've wanted to rip that smug smile of his from his face more than once. Almost went through with it one day.
He must have done something awful.
The worst thing he could possibly do. He stole my dear Brissinger men.
One of your cats?
No, my necklace.
Oh.
My most precious possession. I'd give anything for it. And I did. Because of Loki, 100 men gave their lives to Odin that day. But it was written. We cannot dwell on it.
So I never had a choice.
Exactly. You understand now.
Scandinavian mythology was full of brave warriors whose glorious deeds earned them entry into Asgard, home of the gods, after death. But not all mortals were given this honour. Another fate awaited them. While warriors who died in battle could look forward to feasting in the halls of Valhalla, those who died of sickness or old age went to Hel or Helheim. The cold and misty realm of Niflheim, pictured here, was another final destination. Murderers, oath-breakers and traitors were punished for their crimes by being sent to this cruel land. You want to go there? It's cold and green. And there are wolves after you.
These doors will take you to Folkvanger, my kingdom. Afterlife of the slain and righteous. Just as luxurious as Odin's great hall.
Thank you.
Hooray! Reunited in death. Wouldn't even deign you with an audible end to it. But yes, that's it. That's the end of the Discovery Tour. Don't think there's really much to... There's nothing here to find. It's kind of just where it ends. But yes. As you can see, I'm not a... It doesn't feel complete. It feels like they were missing so much more from it than they already have. Like, the environments are beautiful. In terms of the game itself, the environments are beautiful and all that shit, but in terms of the actual Discovery Tour, it just doesn't feel... It doesn't feel as loved as the others. I don't know. It doesn't feel right. Anyway, I'm going to leave it here, so I'm going to see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye bye. I leave you with this lovely image. Look at that, isn't it beautiful? Isn't it very...